I'm joined now by Congressman Nathaniel Moran. He's a Republican from Texas. He's a co-sponsor of the Rural Weather Monitoring Systems Act. Congressman, again, our thoughts and prayers are with everyone in your district and beyond who are dealing with this awful tragedy. But let's talk about the situation. Texas officials, particularly in Kirk County, have not really addressed questions about why the community was not more prepared for this flooding event. Do you feel that the community is owed more of an explanation?
Well, Ryan, I think right now the focus really should be on continuing the recovery efforts. We're still in the midst of deep grief of what these families are going through, what this community has gone through. There's certainly going to be time for time next to come to evaluate what could have been done or what should be done in the future. But right now, recovering these little girls and these young lives that were lost is of the utmost importance, and standing next to these families and grieving with them, I think is appropriate at this moment.
As a congressman, have they given you any additional information about why the flood warnings from the National Weather Service weren't communicated more widely?
Again, there will be time for a lot of that debriefing as we move forward. We filed a bill even before this happened, in fact, a couple of years ago, to address rural weather monitoring systems to try to see these storms coming and predict them before they came out. There's a lot of discussion currently about once you get the monitoring systems in place, then what about the warning systems? And I know that's really been the focus of discussion that I've seen in the last week. But these local officials, and particularly in Central Texas, I know are deeply involved in those discussions with their representatives locally, Chip Roy in particular being the one that was most affected by this, and then up through the FEMA chain of command. I was a county judge here in Smith County, which is northeast Texas, about 6.5 hours northeast of where this flooding occurred. And I was a county judge here for 6 years and the head of emergency management here. And I understand once you're in this process, right in the middle of this, there's a time later to do more analysis and evaluation. But right now, it's the time for recovery and to restore what's been lost.
And as you talked about, and as we've talked about, the records show that officials in Kirk County knew that they had a flood warning system that was pretty antiquated. And you mentioned this bill that you reintroduced right before this all took place that's designed to strengthen the weather monitoring systems in rural areas. Do you think had your bill passed a year ago that lives may have been saved?
No, I don't think it. My bill is about monitoring systems. And I know you guys interviewed Eric Sorensen earlier, who's the co-sponsor of this bill. And the question was posed to him, and the answer was correct. And that the question was posed, could there have been more done by the National Weather Service to warn of the coming storms? And he answered correctly that the staffing levels were appropriate and the warnings went out. Just was horrible circumstances in the middle of the night on a 4th of July week here in the middle of the night, and that was a tough situation to actually get the warnings out to folks. But my bill focuses on monitoring systems, in particular low-level systems here in Northeast Texas. We deal with a lot of tornadoes, and F1 and F2 systems are hard to see in these areas in rural America where you don't have radar systems next door or sporadically throughout. You've got the inability to see those low-level systems under 6,000 feet or so. So my bill is really to address those gaps in those monitoring systems around the United States. What happened in Central Texas certainly is a reminder of how difficult it is in rural America to both monitor and to warn about the coming storms and the horrific nature of some of these storms.
I want to ask you about this upcoming legislative session that's going to take place in Texas. I know you're a federal official, but obviously you're concerned with what happens at the state legislature. Is this the time right now to address these central issues related to what happened in Kerr County and beyond? But then also, they're going to talk about items like redistricting, which could impact you as a member of Congress. Is this the time to be dealing with this, especially if you told us that the focus should all be on the recovery?
Yeah, right now the focus should be on the recovery. As they move into the legislative session, they certainly should be talking about how to hopefully prevent something like this from happening again. It's critical that we're continually analyzing horrific events like this in our lives to determine how can we best prevent them in the future. The sorrow and the grief that this community and these families are going through is just unimaginable. and we don't want anybody else to have to go through that. So the state legislature has a heavy load when they go back into special session here at the end of July.
I want to get back to the redistricting question, but on what the state legislature can do right now, they want to talk about an emergency flood warning system. Is that something you think the states can pay for themselves, or should you and your partners in the federal government be trying to find a way to provide that funding stream to states? Because obviously Texas isn't the only state that can deal with these emergency flash floods.
Well, emergency management, as you know, goes from local to state to federal. The federal should only be there really if the local and the state officials cannot handle what is necessary and needed. I have no doubt that the local and state officials can handle this, but to the extent that federal coordination needs to be part of that, certainly the federal government wants to make sure that we're a good partner in all of these decisions, but I have great confidence in our state legislature that they can handle this state issue.
You mean that financially, like Texas has enough money to pay for it?
Yeah, I absolutely think that that they have the money to do what's necessary in this region, as in partnership with the local community, to determine what's best on the city, the county, and the state level.
Okay, now let's get back to this other issue that's cropped up as part of as part of this legislative session, and that's the idea of redistricting in Texas. Is this the time for the state legislature to be dealing with redistricting, given everything that is happening in Texas right now, or is this something that could be put off to a later date?
Well, you know, this is not a decision that I'm a part of. The state legislature determines this. The governor determines the agenda. And certainly whatever they decide, we will roll with. We love representing the 1st District of Texas and Northeast part of the state, 17 counties, as big as the state of New Jersey. And we will love to continue to represent those folks. But to the extent that lines are redrawn, certainly we will seek to serve in humility whoever is given us.
Okay, Congressman Moran, I know you're dealing with a lot down in Texas, so we do really appreciate you sticking through with those technical difficulties, and we'll see you when you're back here in Washington.
Thanks so much, Ryan.
We thank you for watching, and remember, stay updated on breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or watch live on our YouTube channel.